Let's learn how to create an elevation from a floor plan. An elevation is a view of a building from one of its sides. So if we stand in front of the building on the outside here and we look at this building, this is what we'll see from the front elevation. If we rotate the building 90 degrees that way and we stand on the left side of the building looking that way, this is what we will see. A door and a double door, a door and a double door, some columns, one there, and one there, and then some rails, part of this right here, and then the stairs a little further back, 1 to 3 steps, 1 to 3 steps, etc. Elevations share elements with other elevations, like we know the ridge height is going to be this high, we know that the window height is going to be that high, and other things like that. They also share elements with the floor plan itself. So the first thing we need to do is copy the floor plan and rotate it such that the elevation we're going to draw is facing down. We want to draw the right elevation, so this is the right side of the building, and so we need that. Also, we notice here that this building is on a bit of a hill. The flat side, the upper part of the hill, is where the right side is, also half the building. The left side of the building is at the bottom of the hill, and that's why this is a little taller. This deck here is a little taller, and the deck on this side, we only need to go up 3 steps. So we know that for instance, the steps share the same elevation as the front, and that's why this thick line is on the same level as this thick line. And for us, for the right elevation is going to be at the same height. So we can borrow this line and extend it so that it's past this. The building itself, let's draw the corners of the building and we'll project them down. And that's why we need to rotate this building. There's one corner here, and then one corner here. And now we have what the building starting, where the building begins, and then we can locate the openings. On this side, the only opening really is the kitchen sink window. So we're going to copy these lines again. And there we are. Now we can borrow elements from this side. For instance, these elements of the roof. There's where the roof ends. There's a little bit of trim. And then there's the bottom of the rafters. As it turns out, these will, when we look at the building, we can see that the left side, this part here, is the same as that. And I'll just show that by extending these lines. And we'll see that these corners meet here and they'll meet here, because roofs are mostly symmetric. What that tells me is, for instance, that this roof right here is going to be identical as we look at it from this side, from the left side, and the right side. So basically, all I got to do is copy this over. The thing we have to remember is the roof extends past the building some distance. So the building starts here at this white line, ends at this white line, but the roof extends past it a little bit. Probably some dimension like 12, 14, 16 inches, sometimes even 2 feet, depending on the style. Let's measure that. And we start from here to the end of the roof, 1'4", 16 inches here. And I'm almost sure that this is going to be 16 inches to the other side, 1'4". Okay, so the easiest thing to do is to copy this roof from the end of the building copy command from this end of the building and to this end of the building right there. In other words, perpendicular to here. And that's it. We've drawn the roof. Now the corners of the building extend up to the roof, but only up to this line, because beyond that, as we're looking from here, these rafters are going to block all of this here. So what I'm saying is we can trim the corners of the building to this line and to this line on the top, and then we can trim the corners of the building to where the ground begins. And that's it. So now we got a lot of this completed. All we need is how high this window is. And we'll zoom in close. It's 2030. What that means is if we measure the window, the width is 2'4" and the height. So this is mislabeled. The height is below 3 feet. Thing about windows is they all start at the same height. And let's find a window. I'm going to get this window here and I'm going to copy it over. And I'm just going to modify it to fit the opening. The part of the window that is actually the window is, at least with this architect, is the yellow line. So I'm going to move it here. And it looks like I'm a little bit wide. And the easiest thing to do is to stretch it. So I'm going to stretch this line to the left, perpendicular to this line, because that's where the window stops. I'll grab all these elements, and like I said, the actual window is the yellow line. So I'm going to grab from this corner perpendicular to that. Now I have the right width of the window. The dividers also need to be centered. The way these guys draw it, they're an inch apart. So if I move this to where this line is in the middle of this line, and then another ½ inch, then we're in the center. That's the center where I'm ½ inch to this side and ½ inch to that side. We looked at that window and it said it was 2430. Well, it said 2030, but in reality, we measured it to be a 24. So what happens is that's 2'4" tall and then 3 feet tall. So now we're going to find the bottom of it, and the easiest thing to do is to offset the yellow line 36 inches down, and that puts us where the window is. This is the window. The window dividers again are not in the middle, so I'm going to take this one to the middle. Oh, wait a second. Not yet. Not yet. It looks like the windows have a certain offset, and this is all the trim of the window. This is the window opening, the yellow, but this is kind of what the window looks like in reality. And just look at a window that's already drawn. I'm going to extract this window from here. I'm just going to copy it and go do the same at the bottom. So it looks like it at the top it has a 6-inch trim. On the sides it has a 4-inch trim on the left and the right, and at the bottom it just has the drip edge. And the drip edge extends 1 inch past the trim on the left and the right, and at the top there's a cap that also extends 1 inch to the left and 1 inch to the right. Let's put that together. I'm gonna take this up so it's at the same height as this one. I'm going to make it perpendicular to this one, so they're at the same height. So in other words, the window is as high as this one. And then we can copy these elements. We can copy this top part. I'm going to copy it from here, perpendicular to this one. And if I extend the trim, then I have the same condition here as I had here. I don't have it on this side because this window is wider than this one. So I'm going to stretch this cap perpendicular to that. And then, like I said, we go past it 1 inch. Let's just measure that to make sure. And that's 1 inch. So then I just have to extend this 1 inch to the right. And then extend the trim so it meets the cap. And now the tops look the same. So, and we'll do the same thing at the bottom. I'm going to copy this end here, just that end, from this corner where the window actually is to here. And then I'm going to trim. I'm going to take this up and trim it. And then on the other side, I'm just going to mirror these two pieces around the center of the window itself there. And now I have the other side. All I have to do is trim or stretch that up to there. And the bottom, I just have to extend it here. At the bottom of the window, this one, because the window from the side has a little bit of a pitch. So you'll see this little line. And that's an incline going up. So I'm just going to copy this line from this corner to this corner. And they extend it all the way across to the trim. The first two lines inside the window, again, is more trim. And they stop at the yellow line. So that stops there. And that stops there. And I think I can trim the window to here. What's left? So then there's this rectangle inside. Right? Let me just look at another window here. Yeah. So offset of 1 inch and then an offset of 2 inches, it looks like. Offset of 1 inch. Now that one. Then an offset of 2 inches from here to here. Yeah, 2 inches. Let's do that again. Offset 2 inches to here, to here, and to here. And then offset of 2 inches from this line up. And that's going to give us this green rectangle here. Oops. So offset. It's already at 2 inches. So I'll go up. That's going to give us this rectangle right here on a bigger window. So let's trim it so it shows up right. And then all I got to do, and I don't know what happened earlier, but I was doing that wrong. All we got to do is center this. So I already centered the left to right. All I do is stretch it. And then this one, I'm gonna put it in the middle. And then I'm gonna move it 1/2 inch up. And I'm gonna stretch the right side. That way. Now I have my window. Now, how this building is built, it looks like it's on piers. And so what we need to do is look at the foundation plan. Foundation. Well, this one it looks like it's actually built concrete slab on the ground, so that's actually not the right thing. That's a different building that we started from. Just looking at the elevations here, it looks like we might be on a wall, and so we got to find the floor. We know the floor is where everything is measured from at the bottom. So this is the elevation of the floor. This blue line here, I'm going to pick it up, and like I said, the building shares elements with all the elevations. And this line is hidden, dashed, because it's an element beyond that we know is there but really can't see it. But we still need it for reference. So we got a lot of the building done here. Halfway there. We'll have to put siding on it, and before that we'll have to put the porch roof on it. So what the porch roof does is comes down the length of the porch. Let me turn all the layers on, because when I turn the foundation on, all those layers went off. So what the roof does around the porch, and this lower roof, it comes down the length of this porch. There's a 45-degree here if we look at it from above, and then makes a 90-degree turn down the length of the front porch. So what does it look like from the right side? Well, it looks a lot like what it looks like from the left side, except we're not going to see any of this. We're not going to see any of this because this is on the left side, and the right side wall's going to block that. But this part right here, all of this is going to be there from here to the right. So all these rafters that are exposed, this column, because when we look from the left, we're going to see this column, and we look from the right, we're going to see an identical column on the other side. So that column, all of this deck, we can borrow. The stairs, because they're the same from the left and the right, and all the and this little tiny half column there, which is hiding back here. And this is where the building begins and ends. And we're going to see the top of the rail and the bottom of the rail. So let's copy this and then attach it to the other side. So it attaches here, but in the mirror fashion. So I'm going to grab it here, then I'm going to mirror it, and erase the source. And basically, because this lines up with that corner, all I got to do is take all of these elements, move them from either here or here, perpendicular to the end of our building. Make sure we're perpendicular, and there we are. And that's it. Now, remember I said this roof, we're not going to see most of it because it's hidden. So what I'm saying is this roof is going to stop here, and the bottom rails are going to stop here, and the top rails are going to stop here. But we're going to see the stairs. There's a little column at the front. There's a column at the corner. We can also take that. And I'm going to use the post as a reference, and then I'm going to mirror it around the post right there. So that's what's holding the porch. So we got the porch. Now, what this looks like from this side, it's a little different. We're not going to see these rafters because there's no roof coming at us. And we're not going to see these because the roof actually doesn't return this way. What we're going to see is lines extending all the way up to the side of the house. More like that. And we're almost done. What happens down here? Well, we're going to see the rails. And the rails is just the hatch. So the easiest thing to do, so I don't have to figure out what that hatch is, I'm just going to put any hatch. I'm going to put any hatch right there. And I don't care what it is because I can match the properties of other hatches. And then, normally that would work. But it's a user-created hatch. If I click on it, it's Pickett something or other. And this one is something else. I thought that would work. Let me just go another. Match the properties of this one to this one. Normally that would work really well. So I'm just going to have to find it. Hopefully. And OP. It's just not there. Why it isn't there is probably, let me look in one more place. Yeah, it's because it's a user created. It's user created, but I can make one out of this. The angle is 45 because it's at 45 degrees. I want it, and then the scale. I have to play with the scale. I'm gonna give it 96. Let's see what happens. Too much. 48. 24. Got it. Bring it up. The distance. Distance. In this drawing. Well, it looks like this distance is more than this distance. See what I'm saying? Distance between these two is a little less than the distance between these two, and it keeps alternating that way. But if I change this to say 18, and that's pretty darn close. So what else we got going on? I saw an elevation here earlier. So there's a 6-inch trim in the corner that it's an inch lower than the floor. So let's create that. And it also, so I'm going to offset this by 1 inch down. And then I'm going to offset the corner of the house 6 inches in. And this is my trim. Like that. And I'm going to copy. I'm going to go copy this. So we got the same colors, which in turn will give us a different depth or a different darkness when it's printed. And that happens on the other side too. So I'm going to mirror this. It looks like it disappeared, but it just went that way. I'm going to move it in, and then I'm going to move it up to where the building ends. For contrast, this architect offsets the bottom 1 inch in that way, and that way. And then I'm going to trim here. So that looks like that. Just so that there's a little break. This one is cut there. and this one's cut there. And so that this thing isn't floating in the air, I'm just going to extend these 4 lines that way. There. And then we have the elevation. Then the siding. And this is the siding. Let's see if I can, and that's just a hatch again. So I'm going to hatch. Hopefully it'll work this time here. A hatch. And I'll just pick any hatch. And then enter. Oh, I did that backwards. Let me escape and I'll do out of there. I'm going to click a hatch. Click that and hit enter. And it's done. And hopefully the properties of this hatch can be matched here. And they're not. How can I? I guess I can find out if another user created. Let's see. I wish I could find a little one. Let me just copy this over here closer to where we need to be. Let me just put another hatch here. Try to match the properties. Also the roof. This is a metal roof. That's also a hatch. If you click on it, it's another user defined, which for some reason didn't carry over to our drawings. Well, what do we know about this hatch? It's board and batten. Let's see if we can. Board and batten. So this is board and batten, angle 0, scale 0. The one we just did. Stop a B and see what happens. There's the B's. It's not there. Oh, board and batten. Just doesn't want to cooperate. Do we have it? I'm running the phrase. The graphics on it are too demanding. There it goes. So that kicked us out. What about sending the report? I'm going to try to open that again. And while we wait, we get to see this bar that doesn't tell us anything. It just says we're moving, but it doesn't say how far we've gone. I don't know what AutoCAD thought that would help. So it's loading all kinds of things. And I never paid attention to what this says, but so what happens when you crash, AutoCAD says, hey, all these files were open and you had one that was saved on September 17th. That's the day at 1:29 p.m. And then we made a backup copy right before we crashed at 4:17. So we can go back and recover that one because that's the latest thing that was saved. And how far had we gotten? Well, so we lost the corner trims. and we lost our elevation siding. Corner trims, offset 6 inches this way and that way, and offset 1 inch this way, corners in and the floor down. Let's trim all of this. See if I can remember how to do it from memory. I'm going to use all these lines as trimming edges. So I'm going to trim that to there. Actually, that one to there, and that one to here, and that one to here. And I'm going to make these, well, I'm going to do that on the other side, and then I'm going to worry about layers and things. Because I trimmed the bottom one, it disappeared on this side. So I'm going to trim this to there, and this to there, and this to there, like that. And that one there. And I'm going to leave the floor, because the floor extends the whole way. I'm going to use the color they used on the trim. Where would I find that? And that, if we figure out how to do the hatch, then we can do that. The other thing that isn't done here is the side yard, but that's simple. Couple of poles that are this wide with a cap on the top. We extend these. And whatever's behind it will not be seen. So, and the basic layout of this is just like the deck. So we have some rails at the top and some rails at the bottom that will connect those two poles like that. And there's the other pole. And like that. The top of the poles would be the same height, or 42 inches. This is a 36 typically. 42 inches. And we'll offset this 42 inches. And then we can trim the poles. Trim the pole, and then, but remember I said anything behind the pole disappears because the pole is blocking it, so all of this is gone. So now we have the service yard. We'll match the properties of the poles to this. Now we have our service yard. All I have to do is give it a floor, which is this right here, same height as the deck, and that's the poles extended there. So I'll trim the poles. I offset everything by 1 inch to give us a little bit of depth here. So I can just copy this here. That's where the floor stops. And then it's not as sophisticated as the deck itself with the trim and then in the board. It's usually maybe something like 6 inches down. That. We'll just do this all the way to the ground. And then it can be trimmed like that. And that's what it looks like on the other side as well. So if I just mirror this right there, then I will have a place to trim these guys. This one will extend to here, and this one will extend to here. And there's a service yard. All I got to do is figure out how to do the siding. This right here would be the same as this. So because I generated that one myself, I can put a hatch here. And it just remembers the last thing I did, fortunately. But I'm going to match the properties. There it is. Now I gotta figure out how to do that. And that's the elevation. Of course, it will need to have notes like that, but we'll talk about that at a later date. Because that's actually in a working drawing, I'm going to save that as the actual file. So file, save as, and the project 2019, this client, this project, and this one. You want to overwrite it? Yes. And that concludes how to draw an elevation there. Thank you.